Hello and welcome back. Today's episode is about illnesses or imbalances, be it physical, mental, emotional, and or spiritual. We are specifically going to address healing these illnesses and or imbalances from a multi-modality and multidimensional approach. We will discuss the value and the importance of looking at healing as an inside job. So we have a guest today, and I'm very excited. Her name is Dr. Connie. She is a wellness professional who helps in redefining the practice of medicine by bridging the gap between sick care and health care. Dr. Connie and I will be exploring healing from the inside out. She herself has lived with an autoimmune condition for over 20 years, and now she coaches autoimmune patients to reverse their condition by creating an inner healthcare system for long-term success. It's very exciting. She combines psychology, nutrition, physical therapy, functional medicine, and yoga to help guide people who are searching for integrated, holistic, functional medicine. So welcome, Connie.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being here. It's very exciting.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Mm. So, I wanted to hear more about your autoimmune journey, how you healed yourself, and just briefly maybe tell your story, how it relates.
Yeah, so I've always been a health junkie, and I was the epitome of health. I studied psychology in my undergrad, but even before then, I found Jane Fonda when I was 15. And I just always knew that I wanted to embody health and wellness in my life.
Mm.
So psychology led to master's in nutrition, and nutrition led to physical therapy. And then as I was graduating for my doctorate degree in physical therapy, probably the last semester that I was there, I started to lose a lot of hair, severe fatigue. I remember I was studying on the lawn with my classmates, and a lot of the immunological functions, like I thought, I broke out into hives, and that was the start of everything. And gradually, for over 8 months, I went through different symptoms, very mysterious symptoms that really scared me. And the only solution that the doctors had was corticosteroids. And I was really fearful. If you can see my hair is my asset. I love having long hair, and I literally was having bald spots. I had alopecia so bad, and I had severe rashes all around the big joints,
Mm.
and I literally thought I was going to die. And I lost so much weight. I'm already pretty thin, and I lost so much weight, and I really, it just really, I just believed that I was dying at that time. And it really helped or just sent me into a full-blown depression, and I just became a hermit overnight. And so my whole journey was all about coming out of that, making not so smart decisions, because at first I was at the mercy of the medical system to tell me exactly what I can and cannot do. We didn't have any internet back then. Everything that I read on lupus, it was mysterious. There was no medication, there was no treatment for anything. So I was lost, and I just thought I was doomed, because everybody who had lupus back then, I was told they die in their lifespan was 10 years. And so I just sort of lived my life by default, and I sort of gave up until I realized that there was so much more that I can be doing. And then I became a mom, and I became a wife, and I started my business, and I found yoga, meditation, functional medicine, anything to help me to regain my health was what I was committed to. And so I'm still on that journey. And I realized too that just last year I was deathly sick, and all from psychotraumatic stress from the past. It was triggered by a little argument that I had with my mom, sent me into the hospital, and it nearly killed me. And then I realized I was able to tie all the faculties of my health together to make sure that I don't take this linear approach of doing functional medicine, physical therapy, nutrition, yoga, meditation, all fragmented in different ways. But I realized we're whole beings. We have to address the whole thing. And so I've been approaching the whole clinical practice differently, utilizing yoga as the bridge to tie the physical body to the mind. And then the journey of healing, or self-healing journey is what I call it, is only possible if you are able to do so from the inside out versus expecting others to heal me. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes such perfect sense. And it's so refreshing to hear other people speak like this. Sometimes I feel like I'm the lone warrior out there saying these things. But yeah, I tell people that I use the body like through my yoga, like therapeutic yoga, using the body to access the psyche.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
The
phenomenal. So did you say just 1 year ago you had a severe relapse? That was just a year ago.
Yeah, so I had a very bad relapse. So initially my lupus was just topical, so it was just a topical lupus, dermatological. It wasn't anything systemic.
Okay.
Until I gave birth to my first son, and when he was about 18 months, I had nephrotic syndrome affecting my kidneys, and then things got really serious. So that was my first experience into having a severe flare involving my kidneys, chemotherapy, all the medications, and I was told not to have kids, any more kids. And it was just my life turned upside down. And then, against medical advice, I went on to have more kids. I had one more son. After 4 years, I waited, and then I applied the functional medicine, all the things, because I'm a rebel in that way. And I did that, and I successfully had my second son. I had a second relapse, and then the third one in 2013. And then that's when I got really serious about yoga. And that's when I got into meditation and the whole certification journey, even though I've been practicing for 25 years.
Oh,
And that's when I really got serious, because just like what you said, it had a significant emotional impact in me. The physical practice of yoga gave me so much insight into my psyche in
mhm.
ways I can't explain. And that's when I got clarity, and that's when I got divorced as well. And that was my third relapse. And I knew as a single mom, I could not afford to get sick again.
Mm.
And so I committed to studying functional medicine full force, became board certified in it. And I went through, and then I'm just applying yoga in a very new way. I have a wellness center. And life takes a hold on you when you're doing your business, and health is good, business is good, everything is good. And then just last year I had this kind of, we went sideways, me and my mom, over an argument, or for a simple conversation, and it
Mm.
just triggered so much within me. And we went through a point where we joke about it, but she disowned me for a short time, and it drove me crazy, insane. And all my significant other and all my close friends know that that was the trigger. It drove me in the hospital, and I was in the hospital for over, I'd say, 14 days.
Wow.
And my my physicians thought I had cancer, specifically leukemia, because I had no white count,
Mm.
no leukocytes, nothing. And the whole time, there was a rheumatologist, infectious disease, there was the oncology, there's a primary care, cardiology. Everybody was looking at me, and they all thought the common denominator, the unknown, was the lupus. All along, it wasn't anything like that. And to make long story short, they found out that lupus was completely silent, even though they wanted me to go back on it just to have a security of knowing that we have lupus under control. But then I told my rheumatologist, I said, listen, my immune system was so bottomed out. I don't believe that the best answer isn't to decrease my immune system again. So give me some time. I'll get my labs checked on a monthly basis. Let me get my body back to where it needs to go. And so the whole psychological healing began in a serious way. I got myself a life coach, and I started to work on my mind, and through meditation and yoga, serious taking this under my control, I was able to get off all medications for lupus, and I've been lupus free for over a year now.
That's
And
such a
so,
great story.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. Wow. And that piece, that parent child piece, is so very important for all of us to reconcile at some point in our lives. We could have had the best childhood,
yeah,
but there's always something in our past. If we're not well today in some way, then I can almost bet that if we explore with, a client long enough, we can come back to where the origin of that was. And it's almost always stemming from our childhood, from
yeah,
something with our attachment as we were growing up or lack thereof, or if, like you said, your mother um,
disowned
disowned
me.
you for a short period of time. And that's traumatic at any age for our parent to turn their back on us,
Yeah,
regardless of our age. We're always, I say that every human that I look at, every adult human that I look at, I see them obviously like I see you as an adult human, but I also see an injured child inside of every adult human. And until we love that child and help that child to evolve past that or to heal in whatever way and however, then we're going to be walking around as wounded adults.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I,
for
I
sure.
see a lot of that, whether it comes out physically in your lupus, has a physical manifestation, or any other autoimmune disease that somebody might have, but stress. That was very stressful and it crashed your immune system. That
Yeah,
stress will crash our immune systems. I've had it
yeah,
happen to me as well as many people that are listening to this. Yeah, and that's within our power to increase.
yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. And you said it best, and I think it's coming back to recognizing yourself as a little human, little girl
Hmm.
with unresolved trauma. And until we're able to look at that, I realized there was a lot of self-loathing and self-punishment, and I was just like not my best friend. I was my worst enemy, and I just drove myself and didn't treat myself very well. I wasn't kind to myself at all. And so, like, to your point, every single patient that I've treated, they all had um, psychosomatic stress or trauma in their past that they still carry today. And until we're able to look at it square in the eye, we're always going to be living from our past to create
Yes.
our future. And so it's almost like through this whole meditative process, we can free our mind
Hmm.
from the shackles of our past or that trauma, but
Hmm.
only if we're able to recognize it. And don't you agree that it's all about self-healing journey is all about getting back to yourself, but really getting back to self-regard, self-respect, and ultimately self-love, right?
Absolutely.
Don't you think
Yeah.
that that's what it is?
I don't just think it. I know it. I've lived it. I've had a past, not an autoimmune issue, but similar. I needed to look at my childhood. Mine was addictions. That's the thing that sent me to discover and explore who I am as a person, because externally I was always very fit. I owned a couple gyms. I worked out 6 hours a day. I had clients and I owned my own gym. I had thousands of people that I came in contact with, and I looked as a healthy person. I was on the cover of Philly Health and Fitness magazine. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So, like, to look at me, you would say, whoa, she's very fit. She's very healthy. But I was not. I was secretly drinking vodka in the nights, like every night. And sometimes I would drink before I went into the gym. So that's when I started looking at myself in the mirror saying, you are a hypocrite. Externally, you're, like a beautiful billboard, but internally, like you could poke your finger through a billboard, right? There was no substance. There wasn't anything that was really authentic. And so I had to face that. And that sent me back to my childhood and healing what I called the
Wow.
skeletons in my basement and forgiving. Forgiveness is huge. But yes, the self love ultimately is what we need to come back to or get originally. A lot of people never have had self love.
Yeah.
So exploring that and getting good with loving ourselves. I've had people say, oh, something about being self-conscious or self-centered, and as if it were an insult, like insulting me, like you're so self-conscious or you're self-centered. I think was the word. It was years ago. Somebody called me self-centered, and I said, "Thank you. That's been my life's work. I've been really trying to be centered in myself. Thank you for noticing."
Yeah, and
That's not
I
how they
am that
meant it at all.
wonderful.
But yes, being centered in ourselves, finding out who that is, exploring that, we're not the child of, we're not 5 anymore, right?
Yeah. But don't you think too, like through that's a beautiful story because don't you think too, like our defensive mechanisms go up and in the process we get so locked in that we start to spread the hurt, not the love. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And we start
Absolutely.
to like push the things, the goodness out of our lives and we are not able to receive the abundance and the healing and the love that's available to us in a moment's decision. Do you know what I mean? And
I
so I
do.
think that that's like super powerful to kind of have the courage. Like, look at you, that's an amazing story because you were able to look at yourself
And it
and
wasn't
really look at
easy.
yourself in the mirror. Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard. That's the hardest work I've ever done, is to
Yeah.
really be honest and look at all of that ugliness, and to forgive myself for all of my
Yeah.
mistakes and all the bad, terrible, wrong things that I've done. And I feel like that was the hugest piece. It took me almost, say, 16, 20 years to
Wow.
actually forgive myself for this one thing in particular that I struggled with for 2 decades. So
Wow.
I was 16 when I did what I did. I was 36 when I finally, and I was working on it actively for probably 10 years, where it lifted and I really got to see, like from a higher vantage point, forgiveness, how it feels, what it looks like when it's genuine, forgiving myself.
Yeah.
After I did that really hard work for me, it became so much easier to forgive other people because I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
making decisions and choices, like you said, and that snap, not being in our power, not being self centered, not loving ourselves, and
Yeah.
making decisions that we regret perhaps later on.
Yeah. Yeah. Because yeah, we forget that like you're able to have so much more empathy. It just comes out you from you being authentic with yourself. And like I just feel like, oh my gosh, I can tell you everything because you kind of get it. You know what I mean? Just the humanness of it. That
Yeah.
we're not our mistakes.
Thank
And the
you.
guilt and the shame that we surround ourselves with, it's a choice, right?
Hmm. Yeah. And that fear of being
Judged.
exposed,
Yeah.
I'll be exposed, if I and now I'm just like, I want to expose myself because I know that what has bound me, and what I've liberated myself from, in doing so, I help other people to be liberated. So that shame and that guilt that you're talking about and that fear of being exposed, the sooner you get on a mountaintop and just say, yeah, man, I messed up and it was terrible and, whatever, or whoever, however you have to do it. But to be honest with the world, be honest with yourself, be able to look in that mirror and say, yeah, that was a terrible thing that you did. And it's okay. You were ignorant in making that decision at that time. You didn't know what you know now. Today, you wouldn't make that same choice.
Exactly.
And I know that with people who are hurting other people, so to speak, if they had that insight, they wouldn't be making that. So clearly they don't have that insight, and therefore I have compassion and I could essentially help those who are ready to be helped. I liked that it was something that you said, in one of I saw it on your website. Help guide people who are searching for integration,
Yeah.
searching, because not a lot of people are really searching. They're quick to go to the chemotherapy and to the steroids and to whatever other Western medicine quick fix pill that is available, because we have lots of quick fix pills, but they don't ever really fix the cause and core.
Don't you think it's the shift though? Shift of like directing your attention to the external world and waiting for that to fix me versus really going and it's the really deep work that you did. It's the self-exploration and just really, withstanding some time by yourself and just really looking within in search of your healing, the true answers to your problem, because it's only the switch that's within, right?
Yes, it's so
Yeah.
powerful. I like that switch that's within. It's a good term.
Yeah. Because no matter what I do, the tactical interventions only are short lived because we're so habituated and conditioned to think a certain way. We all say lip service to one certain things, but if
Hmm.
it's externally focused, we're never authentically aligned with our soul, the core truth of who we are. And until we can be aligned, I say anchored, aligned, and true to our core values, only then can you move through and find what you need, not based by other people's agenda for you, but you get to seek it out and you get to find meaning in everything that you do. Do you know what I mean? And look at
Absolutely.
you. You're radiating confidence, you're radiating love, and you're radiating truth. And because it's so aligned, like this is who you get, Sharon, and you're
That's it.
amazing. Do you know what I
Uh-huh.
mean?
Yeah, and so are you, and I love that we're doing the same work. And I want to also talk about, you said other people's expectations of us. That might not have been the word that you used, expectations. But
Agenda.
agenda, thank you. Uh, and then our own personal conditioned agendas, things that we've allowed ourselves to believe. I always ask people to check their belief behind their belief,
Yeah.
see if your belief is really true today.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 years
Yeah.
ago, 5 months ago, maybe that was true, but always to check to see, because if you look at how the word belief is spelled, the word lie is in there, right?
Hmm.
Belie. So I say, is that just check to make sure there's not a lie in your belief. Your own personal agenda that was conditioned by family or society or whomever, however, whatever, it got downloaded. And so now we just take it and we own it and we wear it like our cloak. And it's like, yes, this is my agenda, but is it really your agenda? What is your real agenda, your soul's agenda? And I love that you speak of the soul and that you embrace the spiritual component of our humanality. It's a part of our human condition.
Yeah.
And that's mostly where I try to, whenever a situation comes up, I say, I want to look at this from the vantage point of the soul, not my ego, not how I think or how I may have conditioned myself, but from the point of the soul. Like if I was up here with the eagle looking down, what would be the highest and best way to handle this situation from my soul's agenda?
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautifully said. Because here's another thing that I learned through last year is, so we've got the way we're conditioned, it's the repeated thoughts, right? We are so indoctrinated by the education system, by our caretakers, and we adapt what we're given. And like you said, we're conditioned into believing those things as our own, but they were never dictated because nobody asks you from when you were little, what do you think? What do you believe? You're just assumed whatever my parents believe. If they took me to church, that's what I believe. If they said this was bad, then I believe that. Do you know what I mean? We
Yeah.
never questioned it. And so a lot of the work that I do now is all about questioning your limiting beliefs
Mm,
of what you think about the world, because what your thoughts are is what you're creating in your life, right? The results that you
absolutely.
create is always pointing back because we're validating our thoughts always, and thoughts trigger our feelings, and feelings drive our actions, and
Yep.
those repeated actions over and over again, that's the result that we get. And we can be doing the actions, and then creating the result, but a lot of us have that void because that's when we're kind of feeding into the external expectations of us we're doing, and whatever that might be, it might be bringing us financial success or career success or whatever, but if we're not aligned with our core and really aligned with our thoughts and our feelings to create this synergistic vibration, healthy vibrations in our body, because feelings bring vibrations in our body.
Hmm.
If it's not achieved, then you're always going to have that void and it's going to be short lived. And then people usually find themselves out in their 40s and 50s, and you're like, what am I doing in this world? And they have midlife crisis that way, right? It's the awakening that happens, the rumbling of the soul just saying, enough is enough. Can you please pay attention to me? Right?
Yes, that inner discontent. And then you
Yes.
can't quite put your finger on it. It's like, what is it?
Yes.
This weird, yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And it's sad that people don't look at that. A lot of people don't look at
No,
that. They
no.
just take the
Well, people,
drink or take the pill or do
yeah,
whatever to numb it out. And the financial
avoid
situation.
feeling. Yeah,
Yes,
they avoid
avoid the
feeling.
emotion. The hardest
Yeah.
thing to do is to sit with that, to process that. During the initial stages of the pandemic, I was having clients calling and just like, uh, it was like drowning, you know what I mean? Like frantically grabbing, externally, and just so panicked with so much anxiety. And the hardest thing to get them, to do is to be with the emotion and see what it can teach you, see what you can learn from it, see where it will direct you. But no, I have to get on medication, I have to try CBD, I have to, whatever different things are out there, or just drinking or whatever, anything to numb it, to not be with the emotion.
Yeah, yeah. But it's when we truly can learn to feel. But then I talk about physiologically too. If you can metabolize your feelings, metabolize is assimilating and really feeling and letting the feeling not have control over you, because that you resist has control over you.
Hmm.
But the moment you invite it in, bad or good or indifferent, because life is both, half and half. Half is bad, half is good. We
Yep.
need both,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Once you are able to metabolize, detoxify, and eliminate, these are the three essential fundamental pillars to health that we want to be working on through the practice of functional medicine. And it's not just physical, it's not just with the foods, it's not just with the supplements, it's in the way you process information, what you're going to put in, and it's also in the relationships that you build, the feelings you're welcoming and able to metabolize and detoxify and eliminate what you don't need.
Hmm.
But only then can you have clarity for what you need and what you don't need, rather than just repressing. Because when you repress it, it's got to go somewhere in our body, and that manifests as disease and
Yes.
discontentment, all those things,
Yes.
accumulated toxins. So I think that's what really set me off with my fourth flare that I had last year, because nothing was explaining why I was so sick. And all
Mm.
my doctors, even my oncologist, the smartest of them all, we talked about meditation in his office, because he could not believe at 6 months checkup what a turnaround, from a nearly dying young woman to now, like, there's nothing wrong with you. What happened?
That's
It wasn't even
awesome.
lupus.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And power to you, lady, because often our oncologist, you said you would trust this person. And if this person says X, Y, or Z, you will accept X, Y, and Z because you
Yeah.
trust this medical professional.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to stand up against a medical professional and say, I'm going to claim my health for myself. Thank you very much. I was through a recent experience with something with one of my ovaries, and I went to my doctor and I said, I think something's wrong with my ovary. And he was like, why? And I said, well, it's a feeling that I get. I mean, I definitely can feel it physically. There's something that's just not right. He says, you probably pulled a groin muscle because I work out a lot and that's likely. But I said to him, no. I said, there's an intuition that comes with it though. So I have the physical feeling. Then in my mind, I do this when I have an injury or even whatever. With my mind, I go there. I'm like, what was the purpose of this? Like, I want to learn from my illnesses, from my diseases, from my physical anything. I can't bump my head without thinking, why did I bump my head? I must be up in my head about something. Like, seriously, this is how much I analyze myself. I mean, not at nauseum, but but I do. I'm not
Yeah.
going to just let something go and be
Yeah.
like, oh, you just bumped your head. It's like you don't just bump your head unless you're trying to wake yourself up about something. I think that's my belief. But anyway, yeah, I had to like really kind of sort of, and I love my doctor, and he's been my doctor for 30 plus years, and he's just a great guy. And then finally, with tears in my eyes, I was like, I know my body. I said, I hope to God this is a groin pull, but I feel like there's something else. And I like had to be in tears for him to order a, uh what do they call that? The ultrasound, intrauterine ultrasound, I think is what they call it. So they
Okay.
go up through the vaginal canal and do an ultrasound that way. And like, so he finally did order it. And sure enough, they found something. I'm like, thank you. Now I know what I have, and I'll work on it with, my diet, turmeric and ginger and all of the anti-inflammatory foods and things like that. And then emotionally, I needed to look at that, because what am I holding there emotionally? Right. So in a very meditative state, I went there and I started talking to that ovary, and then it brought up something from my childhood that I guess I blocked it out as an abuse that I had, and that affected my womanly part of my body. And so I was able then to work on forgiveness and healing that person who did that thing, and healing myself and for whatever part I played in being in that situation to have that happen. And like miraculously, it went away.
Wow.
It
That's
just
powerful.
miraculously. But that is the power. We are miraculous beings once we connect the mind with the emotion, with the intuition, with the spirit, with the soul's agenda. The soul doesn't want us to be walking around sick and in pain with autoimmune diseases or tumors or cancers. That's a wake-up call. Pain is our teacher. I feel like if I'm having some kind of pain, I need to be learning some kind of lesson right now. And the sooner I get that lesson, the quicker I'm done with the pain.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of how I do me, and
Yeah.
I
That's
try to
awesome.
guide people with
I
that. But
love it.
yeah, so I want to know more about functional medicine. So it's a term that I hear, but I don't have a full like concept of exactly what is functional medicine.
Well, functional medicine, we focus on the root cause of illness. So
Cool.
rather than just patching it up with medications, we believe at the core, at the root, there is the root cause of illness. And once you can recognize and really kind of undo the damaging effects from that root cause,
Mm.
then the healing will take place. It's really lifestyle medicine, and it's a lot more I guess in depth in terms of looking for really the holistic causes as well as holistic treatments of those diseases, utilizing more of the naturopathic means rather than allopathic. They're not opposed to the allopathic methods, which is the conventional medicine,
Mm-hmm.
but they look more towards balancing the natural cycles of your body and natural physiology, but also understanding what the deficiencies are, understanding what the gut issues or neurological issues or any type of systems, everything from metabolic processes to physical movement to immunological, and then the energetic piece of the puzzle. So it's almost like they look at the body as a whole system, parts of the system that work together to make the whole,
Got it.
and they go in depth into different causes, root causes of the symptoms to kind of figure out what needs to be addressed or fixed, so to speak, using lifestyle factors like yoga, meditation, movement, nutrition, and what have you. Does that make sense?
Beautiful. Yes, it does. And do you have certain testing? Like, do you do blood testing? You do, a lot of that type of lab work as
Yeah.
well?
So we have specialty testing that normal doctors won't do. So here's the conventional medicine is, unless you're really sick, like you have a diagnosis where the blood levels show you have a disease, they won't do anything. They'll just offer you different types of medications, right?
Hmm.
We've got a gamut of testing that we can be doing that are highly individualized and highly specific and kind of targeted so we prevent the dysfunctions from going towards disease. And after we figure out what's wrong, we can work to reverse the disease as well. Not only do we look at different levels of certain lab level values, because levels that the conventional doctors look at is an average of the population who comes to the doctors who are sick, right? Because
Hmm.
think about it, who goes to the doctors?
Sick
The
people.
people who are sick. And so that's the average of those lab values are considered normal. They're not really normal. Your levels, Sharon, might be very much narrower because you're not in your 70s. And so you shouldn't be, bulked into that level. And if you're in your 20s, you also shouldn't be bulked into that level. And if
Hmm.
you're symptomatic, it's telling you something's a little off, and that the conventional methods by which we measure disease might not be sufficient. So it provides us with a lot more tools. It's a lot more expensive,
Mm-hmm.
but it gives us a lot more tools to look at different serology, which are labs that are available to us, which include a lot of the predictors of disease so that we can kind of pinpoint exactly where things are going wrong so we can reverse them quicker before it happens. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
That's cool.
a lot of patients are frustrated by conventional medical doctors because they feel the symptoms for so long. Like I had to struggle for 8 years, right?
Mm.
Before my chiropractic brother did the lupus urology. Only then I had something to go back to the doctors for. But until I had that, they didn't even think about that, you know?
Wow.
And I just had to be on corticosteroids because I kept losing hair. I kept going in and out of the hospital. They had no answers for me. Do
And
you
the
know what I mean?
damage that does to your body for being on those steroids
Absolutely.
for how long? For 8 years
Absolutely.
you were on steroids?
8 months,
Oh,
8
8
months
months. I'm
before
sorry. I
getting
thought you
diagnosed.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's damaging. That's the other part
So
of
damaging.
the pharmaceuticals.
There are irreversible consequences to any medications that you take because it does a number on your biochemical homeostasis within the body that's natural. So when you're taking something in externally to create something for immediate acute relief, you're doing long-term damage in the systemic effects of the body to damage the whole piece, and it's irreversible sometimes. You see what I
Wow.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm,
Yeah.
that's tough. So, I wanted to talk about, you mentioned this phrase, processing emotions, I think is what you
Mhm.
said. Or no,
Yeah.
did you, not processing, you used a different word.
Metabolizing.
Metabolizing, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So, describe what that means or what it looks like or what's the process for something like that.
Yeah, so I think
Metabolizing emotion.
a lot of people don't realize when you feel fear, or when you feel shame, when you feel I guess guilt, what does that feel like in your body, right? And
Hmm.
like you said, we want to run away from those negative feelings so much so that we want to numb those feelings. So a lot of the times we can't even name what they are. We just know we don't want to feel them, right?
Mm.
What I mean by metabolizing is really getting curious with your feelings and sitting with it long enough to recognize, okay, what was the precursor to the feelings? What thoughts? Because it's always the thoughts that
Yeah.
drive the feelings.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
I know what you
So
mean.
you think about the precursor. You sit with the shame, for example. I might feel shame and something like just doesn't feel good. And so I decide that's shameful. And then I think about, okay, what was I think? Something might have happened. Maybe like, I don't know, somebody yelled at me, or, whatever.
Hmm.
And I think about, okay, because that person yelled at me, that's a circumstance, right? They yelled at me,
Hmm.
but I don't have to feel a certain way. That's my choice, right? But
Right.
my thoughts about that yelling made me feel a certain way, right? And so then
Yes.
if we can go back to the thoughts that we're having about a certain circumstance, we have the power to change the thoughts.
Yes.
But unless we can metabolize the feeling that we're feeling, we can't really do anything because we're numb to it. We're like a child, right?
Yep.
And we don't really know how to feel. Because Sharon, do you remember when you were little? Who taught you, like, when you cry, we do anything and everything to make you stop crying. And it's not okay for you to be emotional at school. You're supposed to be kind of numb to your feelings,
Right.
hide your feelings, don't be vulnerable,
Mm.
don't show yourself, because that's embarrassing. You have to
Hmm.
fit in. And
Right.
so you never were taught how to feel. Think about that. It's profound.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people find healing and understanding through breath with movement. All of a sudden, they connect to their soul in ways where it's never been, and they can't even explain it. And
Yeah.
so it's the thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. And I'm trying to tell them, the moment you can get clear about the thoughts that you're having, then you can choose what feeling to have. right? Well,
Yes.
better yet, you can't really choose the feelings. You can choose the thoughts to create better feelings that's going to drive you to take better actions to go
Mm-hmm.
towards your goals. But most
Yes.
people are stuck feeling a certain way, unmotivated, depressed, and they're feeling shameful all the time, and they feel irritated or whatever the word might be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
fearful, anxiety, anxious. And
Right.
so I usually ask my patients, what are your thoughts about what's happening? What's creating this anxiety? And then if they can pinpoint to what exactly thought, they can sit with that thought. And if they like that thought and they like the consequence, okay, well, you get to keep it. That's in your control. But do you know that you can change your thoughts, the way you look at things, to change the results that you're creating in your life? But most of us are completely oblivious to this power that we have.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the analytical work. This is more the analytical work. The other way you can get there is to do transcendental meditation. Just sit there,
Mm-hmm.
because the waves, right, up on the ocean top, it can be very turbulent, but
Yes.
it's on the surface, no matter how turbulent it is. But when you look at the depth of the ocean, it's really quiet down there.
Yes.
Thoughts are the bubble that goes rises to the surface. So that depth are available to you. Knowing that and focusing on a mantra, it's the more the transcendental meditation
Sure.
technique that I follow. And the moment you can do that and do that 20 minutes when you wake up in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon, you can almost reset your whole body and learn that way to realize the power within. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's beautiful. And so
Yeah.
that's your primary or your most used type of meditative practice is transcendental meditation?
Yeah, I like that the most. I do guided meditations and I do all kinds of other things.
Hmm.
Kundalini is something that I've tried, yoga nidra. I'm trained in all of those things, but I find that this is the most simple technique that really resonates with me. But I think it's perhaps because I've explored all the other meditation techniques for
Hmm.
so long in search of something that
Yeah,
is, because meditation takes so much work, right? It's the
it
hardest thing I've
does.
ever done,
It really does take a lot of
and I
work.
have a busy mind. So, so I find that that's sort of something that it finally worked for me.
That's awesome. So with your busy mind, you can just latch on to the mantra and which
Quiet
is
it
yeah,
down.
yeah, which
Yeah,
is basically a mind instrument. That's cool.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I teach a lot of different meditations and practice a lot of different types. And for me, I'm such a free spirit and I don't particularly love routine and structure. I fare very well without routine and structure. You know, I understand that a lot of
Uh-huh.
people need that. I'm not one of them. So I like, I just go by my mood. It's just like, what kind of a mood, what's going on with me right now where I have to just do a mantra, or I have to do an affirmation right now, or I just need to focus on the breath right now and, or whatever. The Kundalini, I love Kundalini. That was my first yoga. It's my favorite. I love that it combines the meditative practice and the chant with the yoga, and it just, to me, it just combines all of the good stuff. And but yeah, it's great to find the one that works for you, which is why I teach a variety, because some people gravitate toward this one, some people gravitate toward that one, or what's going on in your life. There's so much meditation out there, and I love it that it's becoming more and more popular, um, just because it gives people more options for
Yeah,
meditation. A lot of
yeah,
people think, no, I have to sit with my legs crossed and my hands have to be like this, and that's meditation. I'm like, well, that's one form of meditation, but it's not the only thing. Walking meditations, eating meditations, cooking
yeah,
meditations. There's just
yeah,
so much, and
yeah,
we live in an exciting time that it's available to more
yeah,
people. You would think more people would be doing it, but it's all good. Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So let's see. If you were going to give a few tips for somebody who is suffering with an autoimmune disease, what would be something other than contacting you and getting in, to under your care or guidance, but if they were just going to try something on their own just to sort of test the waters for themselves, what would you
Yeah.
suggest for someone?
I would recommend if they can look up elimination diet. elimination diet is something that you can follow to completely get rid of all the inflammatory foods from your diet for
Okay.
28 days. And then systematically reintroduce the foods back into their system to see what fits. The elimination diet is dairy free, gluten free, all the additive free. It's not
Food
grain
colorants.
free, but nightshades. All the inflammatory foods are out of the plan. And
Okay.
so you do that for 28 days and then reintroduce the foods to figure out, is there any triggers in the way you eat every single day? Because we all need food every day, right? That's
Hmm.
something that we all have in common. The other thing that I want to recommend is trying to do this meditation. What I call a brain dump is what I start my clients off with. Because a lot of the times, if I say just go meditate, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the type of the work that I do, it's very actively engaging. I coach them through the process. And so, what
Beautiful.
I recommend is as soon as they wake up, I say, keep a journal and brain dump all the thoughts that you're having in the morning. Just exhaust all the thoughts out of your brain onto paper first thing in the morning. And that way you've eliminated all the thoughts and take a look at it and figure out what thoughts you want to keep. Or once you write it down, it's like it reveals sort of what trash you've got going on in your head. And
Hmm.
most people don't even do that. And it's key not to censor yourself when you do that. Just write, 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 and then do that every morning. And then the other thing is, as soon as you wake up in the morning, I want you to start your day with lukewarm lemon water and then just drink the whole thing. It wakes up all the detoxifying organs in your body, like the kidney and the liver, to prime you. Not only that, it alkalizes your body for the day.
Mm.
So that's something that I recommend that they do every single day. And these are lifestyle. And of course, the fourth thing is no matter how bad you feel, and it feels very counterintuitive, but you must move. So choose yoga, do some type of gentle yoga, move anyway, despite how you feel. And I have a YouTube channel with all the autoimmune yoga there available for them so they can follow along. And, you know, they need to be moving to be able to, again, metabolize, detoxify, and eliminate all the toxins that accumulate in our bodies.
That's
So
awesome. I do.
that'll be my tip.
I don't do the brain dump in the morning. I drink water every morning with lemon for sure. And so I do 32 ounces. What do you recommend? Before I do anything,
Or,
I drink 32 ounces of lemon water first thing in the morning.
first thing in the morning.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I say probably about 12 to 16 ounces is a good thing.
Okay.
32 seems a bit much. Like I can't hold too much because I think that would be just overloaded. But really, if you're able to do that, water is
Yeah.
the best thing for you. And
It
lemon
works
water
for
at
me.
that,
Yeah. If
yeah,
I
it's
do less
awesome.
than that, I feel almost dehydrated. Plus, I live in a very arid area that's sunny and
That's awesome, Sharon.
dry
Keep
all the
doing
time.
that.
But
Yep.
yeah, I always want, and I
Lifestyle.
always tell people 32 ounces, but I'll often hear that's too much. I can't drink 32 ounces. Like, really?
Yeah.
But I get it. So you say between, what did you say, 12 and
12
6?
to 16.
Okay. All right. That's reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. So I'm glad because I always say 32, and it's nice to know that it doesn't have to
Totally
be
good.
32 ounces. But I drink a lot of beverages in the morning. I break my fast very gently and slowly,
Yeah.
for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so let's see. And you say use meditation as exercise, just move, just move.
Well,
And
move with breath. So
okay,
inhale deep, exhale with movement. Like I always match my yoga poses with movement. I mean, with breath. It's
yeah,
always breath coupled with movement.
perfect. Terrific. So tell us about your YouTube channel. Where can we, what do we look up?
Dr. Connie Jeon. I've got lupusrebel.com and alkalinewellness.com. And you can follow me on my Instagram handles as well. It's Dr. Connie Jeon.
Awesome. And spell your last name, please. I didn't say it because I didn't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry.
Jeon.
Okay.
Jeon.
Jeon. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Well, we'll have to do this again because
Yeah,
it's
for sure,
about an
Sharon. And
hour
I'm going to
now, and
reach out to you and get you on my channel.
all right, that would be so awesome. What a
Yeah.
gift you are to the world, and thank you for gifting me with your time today for this
Well,
podcast.
thank you, Sharon. It was my pleasure. So great to meet you.
You as well. Stay well.
Okay.
Stay
Take
blessed.
care. Bye.
Bye. Hey, thanks for visiting my YouTube channel. If you liked this video, hit the like button. If you want more like it, subscribe. Thanks. Have a great day.